What's going on over at Epcot? This is episode 49 of the Go Informed podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is episode 49, and today we are talking about all kinds of changes and disruptions and exciting things that are happening over at Epcot. My name is Maven. I am the hostess on the show and the founder of the goinformed.net website with lots of information to help you have the best vacation ever. And I'm excited to tell you about what's going on at Epcot because I think that a lot of these changes are going to be fantastic. And also today's show is a little bit of a warning that if you're traveling to Disney World anytime pretty much in 2020 for sure, you will see some things happening in Epcot and definitely have a little bit of disruption. So I want to give everybody a heads up what to expect and how to cope with this, and also just to know what's coming and what might be new when you visit. So before we dive into the topic, I just want to give a big thank you to a couple of people who wrote reviews for the show since the last time I recorded. And I also want to apologize if I'm not giving you thanks on the show because you might have written a review somewhere that I'm not seeing. But thank you for doing that. Even if I don't see it, someone else will. Anytime you can share out the show or help spread the news, it really helps everything grow here at goinformed.net and expands the audience. So thanks to everybody for all of your reviews. But I do have a couple specific ones here that I just want to give an extra shout out to. So these are iTunes reviews on the US iTunes platform. So first one is just really short and sweet. This is from Mavel Z. 5 stars. Thank you. And just says, I just want to write something, but this podcast is very informative. I like it so far. Thanks for the cute, quick review. I really do appreciate that. And then the next one is from Sorry12. And this one I really love because here's what Sorry says. It was our first day at Universal. We followed your instructions for getting to the park early and going to an empty turnstile. Everyone else lined up on the same too. We got to do the ceremonial opening of the park and got a free photo package. Great information for planning our trip. Thank you. This is awesome. I love to hear these stories. And this just quick detour here, guys, before we talk about Epcot. This is a really important tip, especially at Universal this happens, because they don't have signs above the turnstiles saying which one is open. And when you get to the park before it opens, it's kind of like you don't know where to line up because there's no sign telling you like maybe these turnstiles are closed and these are open. But what I can tell you is that almost every morning, all of the turnstiles will be open initially when they open the park. So if you get there and there are only 2 lines and there are like 15 other empty turnstiles, go to one of those empty turnstiles. Those people in those 2 lines, they don't know something that you don't. They are just lining up behind the other people because they think those are the only 2 lines. So, feel free to start a new line, you guys, and maybe you'll get lucky like Sorry12 did here and get to actually be the ceremonial family to open the park. How cool is that? So anyway, thanks for the reviews, you guys. I really appreciate it. Keep it up. You're awesome. Thanks for being such a great audience. All right, so Epcot. There is a lot going on over there. And so we're going to talk about that today. And if you want to see some pictures and links to anything I'm talking about here, you can find them over at the show notes, which will be at goinformed.net/49. So what is going on? Well, I think the main driver of all of these changes right now at Epcot is there's a couple of really big anniversaries coming up at Disney World. The first one is going to happen in 2021. That's going to be the 50th birthday of Disney World. So Disney World opened in 1971. There was only one theme park, Magic Kingdom. And so we're coming up on the 50th anniversary. And so it means it's going to be the 50th anniversary of Magic Kingdom, but also 50th for the whole entire resort. So there's going to be a lot of special things happening, and Disney is trying to get ready for this. And they always like to do a big, lots of new things. It was always Walt Disney's purpose was that the parks would never be finished. And so whenever a big anniversary like this comes, the Imagineering really revs up and tries to, prove that by coming up with new things, even though, the parks are 50 years old, or at least Magic Kingdom is. Now, Epcot is going to turn 40 in 2022. So Epcot opened in 1982. So there's a really, really big anniversary happening at that park, which will happen about 2 years from now. And as you probably know, most of the things that they're doing in these parks take a long time to build and test and really implement. So all of that kind of stuff is starting to happen now. And at Epcot, it is really kind of in your face in the Future World half of the park. So if you listen to my episode 14, where I have an audio tour of Epcot, then this is going to be kind of an update to that episode, because the park, just in general, let me give you, if you haven't listened to it, or just a refresher. Epcot is almost like two parks that are put together. So half of it, roughly half of Epcot, is a world showcase, which is a series of pavilions around a lake that are all representing different countries in the world. So it's like you are traveling to 11 different countries all in one day. And it's amazing. It's a fantastic thing to experience. And I highly recommend you guys check out that part of Epcot. And the other part of Epcot is currently called Future World. And that side of the park is more oriented towards science, technology, the natural world. So it's so kind of science. I always think of Epcot as like science fair meets World's Fair, because it's kind of got both all in this one park. So the area that is seeing the most change right now is the Future World side of the park. Now, Future World is the part of the park where you've got the main entrance. That's where you got the big geodesic sphere, which is Spaceship Earth. And this is where the monorails and the buses are going to bring you into the park. This is where most of the construction's happening. Over in World Showcase, there's some new things happening too that I'm really excited about. And so I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about that first, and then we'll talk about what is happening over in Future World. Because really the most exciting thing that's happening in Epcot right now in this moment is that there's a new attraction that's just about to open in France over in World Showcase. And it is called Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. It's based on the movie Ratatouille, the Pixar movie Ratatouille. And this is going to be a really fun ride. They already have it over at Paris Disneyland, and it's super popular. People really love it. It's totally all ages friendly, just a fun ride. So they're building it now in the France pavilion. So it's going to be part of that whole experience when you go to France in World Showcase. And so this ride is going to open sometime in May. It looks like end of May of 2020. So if you're traveling this summer, you should have the chance to see Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. We'll talk a little bit about touring strategies here in a few minutes. But so that is something new that's coming that is opening really soon. Another thing they're getting in France is a new creperie. That sounds awesome. I love crepes, and what's better than to have crepes when you're in France? So this is another exciting addition over there in World Showcase. Okay, so you've got that to look forward to. Let me tell you a little bit about what's happening in Future World, what's going away, what's already gone away, and what is coming. One thing that's happening here is that Imagineering has really completely reimagined what they want to do with this Future World side of Epcot. It's always been called Future World. It's always been about innovation and what's coming next and all of that. But they're really going to step away from that focus. And instead, they've decided that they're going to make that side of the park into 3 new, what they're calling neighborhoods. So they're going to be called World Discovery, World Celebration, and World Nature. Still an emphasis on innovation and what's happening in terms of discovery and things like that. But also they're going to be bringing it back to more of the natural world, more of the cultural world. I think that will tie a little bit more into what's happening in World Showcase. And it's overall, everything looks like it's going to be really nice and a lot more natural spaces, less concrete. That is one thing that I would say about that side of Epcot is it's a lot of pavement. So they're really going to be bringing in more natural atmosphere and updating all of it and still keeping a lot of the things that we all really love in Future World. So the good news here to tell you is that a lot of stuff is not changing and is still operating right now, even through all of this construction. So Soarin' is still there, Test Track, Mission Space, the Seas with Nemo, Journey into Imagination with Figment, like all of those big attractions that people come to Epcot to see. Those are still there. Those are still going to be going just fine while you're visiting, even through 2020. There is, though, a lot of changes coming, and so that means a lot of construction. And actually, right now, it means a lot of destruction. So Epcot is getting a big facelift, which means a lot of buildings are actually being torn down. The whole center of the park behind Spaceship Earth right now is basically behind walls and hedges and stuff. You can hear the demolition happening and buildings are going away. So some of the things that I was telling you that you would walk past when I did my audio tour, those aren't there anymore. So be aware that navigating around this side of Epcot is a little tricky right now, and you're just going to have to know that it's going to be like that. And it might take you a couple extra minutes to get somewhere because you may have to kind of be walking around a big construction zone. The other thing is that there are some things that are completely gone now. The Club Cool, which was the cool place where you could go and try all kinds of pop from around the world, that's gone. And also there was a big Starbucks here, which the building's gone. So that isn't there. Don't worry, they do still have a Starbucks in the park. They've moved it over towards World Showcase, kind of right at the start of where World Showcase is. So you can still get your, caramel macchiato or your frappuccino or whatever. You're just going to have to go back farther into the park. And personally, I would say if you're going to go that far, go get something you haven't had before. Like go to Morocco and get the cool Moroccan coffee or something. But that's just me. Oh my gosh, you guys. Another thing that's not in Epcot anymore is the cronuts. This makes me super sad because I love those cronuts. And right now, there's nowhere that you can get them in Epcot. So don't worry, I'll let you know as soon as they're spotted again, but no cronuts right now. Speaking of kind of food and coffee and all that stuff, in the Future World side, I'm just going to keep calling it that for now, of the park, most of the food offerings are gone right now. So there used to be a quick service called Electric Umbrella, and that's closed. Like I said, the Starbucks isn't there. So if you are coming in from that side of the park, like first thing in the morning, bring your coffee with you, because you're not going to be able to just stop and pick some up on the way in. I'm sure that there's going to be some kiosks popping up and stuff like that as things kind of keep moving forward here. So this is just currently what it's like, but just be aware that, there's not a lot of places to get anything to eat right there around that hub kind of by Spaceship Earth. There used to be. You can still eat in the Land Pavilion, has a huge food court. That's still going. And there's actually a restaurant inside the Seas with Nemo and Friends that looks into the aquarium. That's pretty cool. So if you want to do table service there, the Garden Grill in the Land Pavilion still open for table service too. So there's still options, but the quick service that was right there, kind of right when you came in, that's not there right now. But there is another restaurant that is coming in, and it's supposed to be opening in April of 2020. It keeps getting moved back, so we'll see. But this is going to be really cool, you guys. It's called Space 220. It's going to be located right next to Mission Space, like between Mission Space and Test Track. And it is very, very highly themed. And it is supposed to be a restaurant that is 220 miles above the Earth. It's supposed to be like you have gone into a space station, basically. And I've seen some pictures of the concept art for this. It looks really cool. Like, you get in an elevator when you first go in. You get in an elevator and it looks like you are taking off from the Earth and going up into outer space. Then when you get inside the restaurant, there are huge screens that it just looks out into space. And it's supposed to be like a revolving restaurant, I think. I don't know. It sounds amazing. It's definitely a lot of the same kind of technology that they used in the Rise of the Resistance ride in Galaxy's Edge. And definitely they're going to translate this into the Starliner Hotel. That's going to be the Star Wars themed hotel. This is like a preview of what that's going to be like. Now, the other thing that sounds really great about this restaurant is that it's going to be really good food. It's supposed to be a high-end restaurant. It's going to have like 1,000-bottle wine list or something, and a bunch of craft beers on tap, as well as like a really great menu. So this isn't just, the Rainforest Cafe kind of thing. This is actually going to be a really nice restaurant. So keep an eye on the reservations, because once they start, once they decide when they're really going to open this, you should be able to make a reservation. And that's probably going to be the only way to get in. I know it's going to be super popular. So just be aware that that is coming, and that is going to be a great new addition to that side of the park. Okay, what else is coming over there? Something huge, literally huge, is the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind roller coaster. So this has been under construction for probably at least a year at this point, and it's supposed to open sometime in 2021. This is going to be a really headliner kind of attraction. And I think, from what I've heard, the description of it, I think it's going to be a lot like the big Harry Potter attractions that you see in Universal. It's a roller coaster. It's a story. It's got some really interesting effects and things that it does. And I think if you like roller coasters, if you like the kind of rides that are in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, this is going to be your kind of ride. So they're still building it. It's located kind of over by Mission Space. There used to be something called Universe of Energy there, and this is that spot. So when you come into the park and you head towards Mission Space and Test Track, it's going to be over in that area. And you cannot miss it even now because it's a gigantic show building for this ride. And so lots of action going on there as they're getting ready to open that ride. But that one's still got another year or so of construction. So if you're going, this time next year, you may very well get to be one of the first to ride it. I got to tell you, after I got that experience being one of the first on Rise of the Resistance, this ride is definitely on my radar to try to be there for the opening. That would be amazing. I'll definitely tell you guys if that happens. Now, speaking of the park entrance here at Epcot, this is also getting a facelift. So currently, the park entrance has a whole bunch of these stone monuments that were put up. I believe they were put up for another anniversary at Epcot, and to me, they always looked like tombstones, and I guess that they are going away. So they're taking all of those out, and it's going to be a much more open plaza for the entrance to Epcot. I think it's going to make the pictures look better. I think they're going to add a lot more green space here, and but this means that right now this is under construction. If you come in the park through the main entrance, instead of seeing like this beautiful backdrop, of the globe and the plaza that has been there, right now there's a whole bunch of walls up all around this front entrance of the park. So the photos, you can still get a photo with the Spaceship Earth behind you, but you're probably going to have some kind of construction walls in it too. So don't be too disappointed. It's unfortunately, that iconic photo from the front of the park. You're probably not going to be able to get it for a little while, but the Spaceship Earth is still there, and actually at night it's really just as pretty, because at night the lights are on the Spaceship Earth, and you don't even notice what's below. So take your pictures at night. The Spaceship Earth itself is also going to get a facelift on the ride that's inside of it. So this hasn't been updated in quite some time, and because they're doing all this other construction, I guess the Imagineering has decided to also update Spaceship Earth. So they are saying that it's going to close at the end of May, right almost exactly when Ratatouille opens in France. Spaceship Earth is going to close in the front side of the park. So that ride that often is everybody's first stop on the way into the park is not going to be open. They're not even really saying how long it's going to be closed, but I think it's sounding like at least through the end of 2020. So that's an attraction you won't be able to go inside this summer and this fall as well. So if you're going before the end of May, go and ride it, because it's going to change. It's going to be somewhat the same, but different too. So this is kind of last chance, last call to ride this version of Spaceship Earth. See, you guys, I told you a lot was going on. There really is. A couple other things that are coming to Epcot. They're going to be building a Moana-themed water attraction. They haven't really said what exactly it's going to be, except to put out some concept art. It looks like it's going to be really pretty, very natural theming, and Moana is a great character, so I think that's going to be really neat. And they're also building something they're calling an interactive Play Pavilion, which should be a high-tech, interactive kind of very updated version of what they have had in Future World before. So the buildings that are gone now from Future World were places that had interactive exhibits, but they were just getting pretty tired. They needed something new. So they're doing something on much more high tech that is also going to be very adaptable, so they can update it quite often to keep it, fresh and new for everybody visiting. Epcot is also getting new fireworks. Illuminations, which was the fireworks show that had been there for like 20 years, that left last year. That's gone. And right now they have a kind of an interim show, fireworks show called Epcot Forever. But this is all just building up to a big new fireworks spectacular that is supposed to open towards the end of 2020, and it's going to be called Harmonious. So if you are visiting for most of 2020, you're probably, if you want to see the fireworks there, it's going to be Epcot Forever. And this is kind of a short run for a fireworks show. So you might be one of the lucky people who get to see this little short piece of time where that one's going. And then if you're visiting at the end of 2020 or into 2021, then you're going to get to see this new Harmonious show. And Epcot has always been known for its big fireworks. So this new one that's coming, this Harmonious one, I'm sure is going to be pretty spectacular and something to check out for sure. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about touring tips while all of these things are happening at Epcot. The first thing I would say, and I'll probably say this again, is don't skip the front side of Epcot just because all this construction is happening. Yes, it's a little bit ugly and a little bit inconvenient to have to go around these construction walls, but there are still pretty much all of the main headliner attractions that are in that side of the park, they're all still operating. So, make the effort to go and see these things. There is no reason not to. If you're coming into the park through the main entrance, you're going to be coming on the bus or the monorail. This is, still a great way to come into the park if you're headed towards those attractions, when you first get there. The cool thing about Epcot is it's the only park like this. It's got a front and a back door. So the front entrance is going to get you closer to all those Future World attractions, to Soarin' and Test Track and all of those. But again, just know that if you come in that way, it's not going to be quite as pretty as otherwise, just because they do have all the construction happening even right at the front gate. Now, if you are wanting to visit the World Showcase first, then you might want to consider coming in through the International Gateway entrance on that end of the park. And now we have the Skyliner that will take you there from Hollywood Studios and from some of the other resorts. And if you guys haven't already listened to my last episode, you can find out all about how the Skyliner works. But I think it's a fantastic way to get in or out of Epcot from that International Gateway side. And once Remy's Ratatouille Adventure opens, if you want to ride that, it's going to be hard to get a fast pass. So let's talk about that in a second. So rope drop is probably going to be, for most people, the best bet. Coming in on that side of the park is really I would say the only way to do it. If you are going to rope drop the Ratatouille ride, you need to come in through the International Gateway. Basically, that entrance, it's right next to France. It's way, way, way closer than if you come in through the front gate. If you're not staying somewhere that's on the Skyliner, then the other way to get there, the most efficient way, is to take an Uber or a cab or a taxi or a Lyft or whatever and get yourself to one of the resorts on that side of the park. So that would be probably Yacht and Beach Club is closest. So that's what I would recommend, is just like Uber over to the Yacht and Beach Club and then walk. Then it's like a 5-minute walk on the boardwalk there to get you to the International Gateway entrance. If you're coming in from one of the other parks to Epcot and you want to go in through that entrance, you can also take one of the buses from the park to Yacht and Beach Club and then just walk in from there. That back door of Epcot, now that this big attraction is going to be over there, that I think is going to get a lot more popular, and for good reason. So keep it in mind as part of your touring strategies. What I like to do when I visit Epcot a lot of times is come in the front and go out the back, or vice versa. We do a lot of park hopping, so commonly for me, I'll start my day in Magic Kingdom and then take the monorail to Epcot for the afternoon and stay in Epcot for dinner, and then go out the International Gateway in the evening instead of walking all the way back to the front. And, same thing on the end of your day. If you're on the Skyliner, it's fantastic. Just take the Skyliner back to your hotel. If you're not, you could just walk to Yacht and Beach and take the Uber back to your hotel. So instead of going all the way back to the front of the park and waiting for a bus, whether there's construction or not, that's just a really good way to get around when you're coming in or out of Epcot. Now, one thing that is probably going to happen with Fast Passes at Epcot is that the Fast Pass tiers are probably going to change. So we've seen this already at Hollywood Studios. The Fast Pass tiers have been adjusted now that they've added Millennium Falcon into the mix, and also Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway just opened there. So there's some changes there in the Fast Pass tiers, and it's the same thing I expect is going to happen at Epcot. So when this Remy ride, the Ratatouille ride, opens up, my guess is that it's not even a guess. It will for sure be a tier 1 attraction. I don't want to dive too far into the Fast Pass stuff. You guys can listen to my episode. I think it's episode 11 or 12, all about Fast Pass at Disney World. But one thing to know in Epcot is that the Fast Passes are tiered, which means that there's a select number of attractions that are a tier 1 for Fast Pass, and then the rest are tier 2. And you can only choose one tier 1 Fast Pass per day at Epcot, and you're allowed to get 3. So the other 2 are going to be tier 2 attractions. And right now, what's in the Fast Pass, a tier 1, Frozen, Soarin', Test Track, those are all tier 1 attractions. I don't know if they will stay that way when they add the Ratatouille ride, or if they will, one of them will drop into tier 2, which would really be nice. I'm sure when the Guardians of the Galaxy coaster opens, that'll be tier 1. They're going to have to move some other stuff to tier 2. But just keep in mind that you're probably going to have to choose which one you're going to get a Fast Pass for. So knowing how to rope drop in these parks is really helpful. Also, another tip, there are several restaurants at Epcot where you can make a breakfast reservation and get in the park early. This is a big tip I have. It's a great way to avoid the lines and even kind of skip rope drop. So check back in the archives. I have an episode all about this. I'll put a link to it too in the show notes. Maybe that will be a way that you can get to Remy's Ratatouille adventure early too. So all of that kind of remains to be seen. My go-to place for advice for all of this kind of stuff is touringplans.com. They are on top of this stuff, you guys. And their Lines app will actually suggest your route and what fast passes to get. Same with on touringplans.com. It's like a $12 a year subscription to get all the features. And if you have it, then you can tell them where you want to go, and this system will tell you what fast passes to get and what time to arrive and all of it. So definitely use that as a resource. It's touringplans.com. They're also the publishers of the Unofficial Guide, which also has touring advice. So if you really want to dive into how best to maneuver around these parks, there's a little unpaid ad for Touring Plans. I love those guys. So basically, I just want to conclude by saying, once again, don't skip Epcot. There is so much to see and do here. There are some really cool new things right now that are about to open up, and even more exciting stuff to come. And, most of the favorite things that have always been there are still going to be there for you to see. So don't let the construction put you off from visiting. It's absolutely one of the coolest theme parks I've ever been in, and I really, really suggest that you go and check it out. I think that's going to do it today for our conversation. But thanks again for joining me. Thanks you guys for reviewing the show. I really appreciate it. And don't forget, the show notes for this episode are going to be at goinformed.net/49. And if you have any questions about anything I'm talking about here, or maybe just a question about your own trip, feel free to reach out to me. You can send me a message on social. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, and even Twitter now. And everywhere, just look for Go Inform Podcast or Go Inform Net, and you should be able to find me. And have a wonderful day, and I hope you have a supreme vacation.